Life will break you 1,000 times before it ever rewards you once. People will betray you, situations will test you, and the world will throw storms in your face without warning. In those moments, most people panic. They lose control, they act out of fear, and they destroy themselves before the problem ever does. But that's not going to be you. You will stand still in the chaos, not because life is easy, but because your mind is unshakable. Understand this. Your emotions are the trigger to your destruction or the weapon for your victory. If you can control your mind, nothing can control you. The calm man wins every battle because he sees clearly when everyone else is blinded by rage or fear. Calm is not weakness. Calm is the highest level of power. You train your body in the gym, but have you trained your mind to breathe when everything is burning? The storm will pass. The world will settle. But the question is, will you still be standing when it does? Control your emotions before they control you. This is not just a nice little phrase you put on a social media post to sound wise. This is the difference between winning and losing in life, between building a kingdom or watching it burn to the ground with you inside it. Most people have no control over their emotions. They live like leaves in the wind, being blown in whatever direction their feelings take them. They wake up happy because someone texted them. They feel depressed because someone didn't reply. They get angry because someone looked at them wrong. They are slaves to every wave of emotion that moves through their body. And a slave to emotion is a slave to life, because the truth is life will constantly push, pull, and provoke you. The world doesn't care if you're tired, if you've had a bad day, or if you're not in the mood. Opportunities will come and go regardless of how you feel. Problems will strike whether you're ready or not. And if you react emotionally every time something doesn't go your way, you're handing over the steering wheel of your life to something as unstable as a passing feeling. Think about the most dangerous decisions people make. They are almost always made in a moment of emotional weakness. People quit jobs in anger, ending careers they worked years to build. They end relationships over a temporary frustration. They make reckless financial choices because they're chasing a high or trying to escape pain. In that instant, they think it's the right move because emotions cloud judgment. And later, when the storm inside them settles, they see the wreckage they've caused. But by then, the damage is done. Control over emotions means control over your destiny. It means you respond, not react. Reaction is instinctual. It's what animals do. You shout back when someone shouts at you. You slam the door when you're angry. You cry when you feel hurt. Response is deliberate. It's what warriors and leaders do. You see the situation. You feel the emotion, but you hold it in your hands. You examine it, and you choose the best possible action based on logic, not heat. That control gives you the advantage every single time. Imagine two people in the same crisis. One loses their temper, panics, blames everyone, and makes rush moves that only make the situation worse. The other takes a deep breath, slows down, and starts thinking in terms of solutions. Who wins? Who comes out ahead? The one who keeps calm, always. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Emotional control doesn't come naturally. It's not something you just have because you read a book or watched a video. You have to train it like a muscle. You have to put yourself in situations that test your patience and force yourself to remain calm. You have to catch yourself in the middle of an emotional reaction and tell yourself, stop, think, decide with reason, not rage. And you won't get it right every time, but that's part of the process. Over time, your mind becomes disciplined enough to not let feelings drive the car. You also have to understand that controlling emotions doesn't mean you become a cold robot. You still feel things deeply, joy, love, excitement, but you don't let the darker emotions run wild and destroy your progress. Think of emotions like fire. Fire can cook your food, keep you warm, and give you light. But if you let it get out of control, it burns down your entire house. The goal isn't to kill the fire, it's to master it. And mastering emotions gives you a level of power that other people simply don't have. When someone insults you and you don't react, you take away their control over you. When life hits you hard and you keep your focus, you move forward while everyone else is stuck complaining. When chaos erupts and you stay calm, people look to you for leadership because calmness is rare in a storm. Think of the most successful people you admire. They've all been in situations that could have broken them emotionally, betrayal, failure, public criticism, but they didn't let those moments define them. They processed their emotions privately and made their moves publicly with precision. That is emotional control. And it's not just about big moments in life. Small daily emotional discipline compounds over time. Every time you resist the urge to argue over something pointless, every time you avoid a purchase out of temporary excitement, every time you pause before responding to a provocation, you're building the habit of self-mastery. And that habit will save you when the truly big storms come. Remember this, emotions are temporary, but the consequences of acting on them can be permanent. That's why controlling your emotions is not optional if you want to build a life of strength, success, and peace. You will still feel anger, sadness, fear, and frustration, but you will be the master, not the servant. You will choose when to act, how to act, and if you should act at all. That's the mark of a disciplined mind. You can't control the weather outside, but you can control the weather inside your mind. And when you do that, you become unstoppable. Calmness is strategic power because in a world where everyone is quick to react, the one who remains composed holds the ultimate advantage. Most people think calmness is passive, like doing nothing and hoping things work out. They're wrong. Calmness is an active, deliberate choice. It's the ability to remain in control of your mind while everyone else is losing theirs. It's the state where your thinking is sharp, your decisions are calculated, and your moves are made with precision rather than panic. In every competitive environment, business, relationships, sports, even survival, the winner is often not the strongest or the fastest, but the one who can keep their head when everyone else is drowning in emotion. Calmness lets you see the whole board when others are blinded by the chaos of the moment. When panic hits, your brain wants to go into fight or flight mode, flooding you with adrenaline and clouding your judgment. That's when mistakes happen. People overcommit, say things they shouldn't, take actions they can't undo. But when you train yourself to stay calm, you resist that wave of chemical chaos in your brain. You slow down your breathing, steady your thoughts, and start analyzing rather than reacting. You stop being a victim of the moment and start becoming the strategist of the moment. Think of a battlefield. The soldiers who run in swinging blindly often fall first. The warrior who stands still, studies the enemy, waits for the right moment, and strikes with precision. That's the one who survives and wins. Calmness is like that. It gives you clarity. It allows you to measure your opponent's moves, anticipate their mistakes, and conserve your energy for the exact point where you can win with minimal effort. And here's the part most people never realize. Calmness is intimidating. When someone tries to provoke you, they expect a reaction. They want to see you flinch, get angry, or lose control. When you don't give them that satisfaction, when you just look them in the eye with steady composure, it sends a message that you are not easily moved. It tells them you are playing at a level they cannot control. That kind of presence commands respect without you ever having to raise your voice. Calmness is also the protector of long-term vision. Anyone can make a quick decision when they're emotionally charged, but most of those decisions are short-sighted. Calm people think beyond the heat of the moment. They consider not just what will feel good right now, but what will benefit them days, months, and years from now. They weigh the cost of every move against the reward, and they're willing to wait if the timing isn't right. This is why calmness is such a deadly advantage in competitive spaces like business negotiations. The impatient person rushes to close the deal, fearing they'll lose it. The calm person knows that time is a weapon, and sometimes the best move is to let the other side talk themselves into a corner. In conflict, calmness gives you control over the pace. If you can slow things down when your opponent is trying to speed them up, you throw them off balance. If you can speed things up when they're trying to delay, you disrupt their strategy. It's not about doing nothing. It's about controlling the tempo to suit your advantage. But make no mistake, calmness is not something you just have. You have to build it through discipline and exposure to pressure. You have to put yourself in situations that challenge your nerves and train yourself to keep your breathing steady and your thinking sharp. That's why elite soldiers, world-class athletes, and top-level entrepreneurs all practice staying calm under pressure. They know that no matter how skilled or intelligent you are, panic will destroy you faster than any opponent. Calmness also allows you to adapt faster. When you're panicked, your mind latches onto one idea and refuses to let go, even if the situation changes. A calm mind is fluid. It takes in new information, adjusts the plan, and moves without hesitation. This flexibility is the difference between those who crumble when things go wrong and those who turn setbacks into opportunities. The real secret to calmness being strategic power is that it buys you time, and time is the most valuable resource in any conflict or challenge. Even a few seconds of collected thinking can reveal an option you wouldn't have seen in panic. Those few seconds can be the difference between winning and losing, surviving and falling, thriving and collapsing. And here's the brutal truth. People who can't remain calm are predictable. Their emotions write their script. You know exactly how they'll react when they're angry, afraid, or excited. Calm people are unpredictable because you can't read them. They reveal nothing they don't want you to see. They control the information they give off, and in doing so, they control the entire interaction. You want to live in that position, the one where you decide how much the world sees, how much you reveal, and when you reveal it. This is why you must train yourself daily to practice calmness, not just when life is easy, but especially when it's hard. It's easy to be calm when everything is going your way. The test is when things are falling apart, when the business deal collapses, when the betrayal hits, when the unexpected crisis explodes in your face. If you can remain centered, then you have already won half the battle before it even begins. Calmness is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of strength because it allows you to conserve your energy for where it matters most. You don't waste time fighting unnecessary battles. You don't get dragged into emotional whirlpools. You pick your fights, your timing, and your moves with precision. And in the end, that's what separates the ones who survive from the ones who dominate. Calmness is the shield that protects your mind, the sword that strikes with accuracy, and the throne you sit on while others burn themselves out. When you master it, you become untouchable. React with logic, not impulse. That single discipline can be the barrier between living a life of calculated success or a life filled with regret. Impulse is seductive. It tells you to act now, to speak without thinking, to move without planning. It convinces you that the feeling you have in the moment is enough reason to make a decision that could change your entire future. But logic is the filter, the fortress, the weapon that protects you from self-destruction. Most people live as slaves to impulse because they have never trained themselves to pause. The world they live in encourages it. Social media wants instant reactions, society rewards quick emotions, and our own biology pushes us toward immediate satisfaction. But here's the brutal truth. The easy, impulsive move is almost always the wrong one in the long term. Impulse is emotional. It's your brain's survival mechanism trying to make you act quickly, but life is not always a survival situation. In modern reality, most of the emergencies people react to are not life-threatening, but they treat them as if they are. That's why you see people destroying relationships over misunderstandings, quitting opportunities because they feel tired, making reckless financial moves because something feels right. Every time you act impulsively, you trade the life you want for a moment you can't get back. Logic, on the other hand, forces you to slow down and look at the bigger picture. It's not about removing emotion entirely. Emotion can inspire, motivate, and drive you, but emotion should never lead. Logic is the leader. Emotion is the fuel. When you reverse that order, you crash. Logic looks at the facts, weighs the risks, evaluates the consequences, and considers the outcome not just for right now, but for the long term. It forces you to ask hard questions. Is this action moving me closer to my goals or further away? Is this reaction going to solve the problem or make it worse? Am I choosing this because it's the best move or because I want to feel better in this moment? This is the mindset that separates high performers from everyone else. Imagine a chess game. An impulsive player moves the first piece they think of, trying to get an instant advantage. A logical player studies the board, thinks several moves ahead, and makes the move that positions them to win later, even if it doesn't give them a quick thrill now. Over time, the impulsive player will lose every single time because they're always reacting to the present without considering the future. The same applies to life. Logic protects you from traps. When you think logically, you see manipulation before it reaches you. You notice when someone is trying to provoke you into a reaction that benefits them, not you. You recognize that certain situations are designed to make you emotional so that you lose control. If you're driven by impulse, you're an easy target. But when you operate on logic, you become difficult to predict and impossible to manipulate. There's another side to this. Impulse is exhausting. Every time you react without thinking, you burn mental and emotional energy on battles that don't matter. Logic is efficient. It chooses where to invest your time, energy, and focus. It lets you walk away from nonsense because you know it's not worth your resources. That's why the most logical people seem calm even in tense situations. They're not calm because they don't care. They're calm because they know exactly what matters and what doesn't. But just like emotional control and calmness, reacting with logic is a skill that must be trained. You can't expect to read one motivational line and suddenly override years of impulsive habits. You have to consciously pause before you act, no matter how badly you want to move. That pause, even if it's only a few seconds, is where the magic happens. In that space, you give your mind a chance to step in and say, let's think this through. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your impulses will scream at you to just do it, just say it, just react. That's when you know you're on the right path, because you're building a new habit of discipline. Over time, this pause becomes natural and the grip of impulse weakens. Logic also demands that you know your priorities. If you don't know what truly matters to you, logic has no framework to work with. The clearer your goals, the easier it is to measure every reaction against them. Does this move serve my mission or sabotage it? Will this choice get me closer to the life I'm building, or will it set me back? When you think like this, you become ruthless with your decisions. You stop wasting time on emotional drama, you stop chasing instant gratification, and you start building results that last. There's also a deep confidence that comes from living this way. When you react with logic, you know you've made the best decision available with the information you had. Even if things don't turn out perfectly, you don't drown in regret because you acted with intention, not recklessness. This confidence compounds over time, making you even more decisive and resilient. The people who run the world, leaders, entrepreneurs, visionaries, are not the ones who had the strongest emotions. They're the ones who had the strongest ability to think clearly while everyone else was losing control. They know that in moments of chaos, the person who keeps a cool head and acts with precision will always outmaneuver the one who charges in blindly. And here's the ultimate truth. Reacting with logic is not slower. It's faster in the long run. Impulse might give you speed in the moment, but it often sends you in the wrong direction, forcing you to waste time fixing mistakes. Logic ensures you move in the right direction from the start, saving you months or even years of recovery. So train yourself daily. Pause before you speak. Pause before you spend. Pause before you walk away from something important. Pause before you burn bridges you might need later. That pause is where you wrestle impulse into submission and let logic lead. When you live this way, you stop being a prisoner of the moment and start becoming the architect of your future. You move with precision. You strike when it's most effective, and you never waste your energy on battles that don't matter. In the end, reacting with logic, not impulse, is the foundation of winning in life, because it ensures that every move you make is not just an action, but a step toward victory. Train mental discipline daily, not once in a while, not when you feel like it, not only when life forces you to, every single day. Discipline is not something you switch on when needed. It is a constant state of readiness. Your mind is a muscle, and like any muscle, it will weaken if you don't train it consistently. People understand this when it comes to the body. They know they can't hit the gym once a month and expect results, but they completely ignore it when it comes to the mind. Yet your mind is what dictates your actions, your emotions, your reactions, and ultimately your destiny. Without mental discipline, you will crumble under pressure, lose focus at the first distraction, and fall for every temptation that drags you away from your goals. Training mental discipline means deliberately putting yourself in situations where you have to control your thoughts, focus your attention, and resist the easy way out. It's about mastering the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. The uncomfortable truth is that most people are ruled by comfort. They choose the path of least resistance, the option that feels good in the moment, the excuse that justifies avoiding the hard thing. But champions, leaders, and builders of empires understand that comfort is the enemy of growth. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you weaken your mind. Every time you push through discomfort, you strengthen it. Mental discipline starts with small daily acts, waking up at the time you said you would, even when you're tired, finishing the work you planned, even when distractions call, keeping your word, even when it's inconvenient. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are training sessions for your brain. You are teaching yourself that your feelings do not control your actions, your decisions do. Over time, this habit becomes who you are. Mental discipline also requires you to set rules for yourself and actually follow them. Not rules society sets for you, but personal standards that you refuse to compromise on. If you decide you won't waste time scrolling on your phone for more than 10 minutes a day, then you enforce that rule. If you commit to reading for 30 minutes a day, you don't skip it because you're too busy. The point is not the activity itself. The point is proving to your mind that you are in control, not your impulses. And here's the thing. Discipline compounds. The more you keep your own promises, the more confidence you build in your ability to follow through. That confidence is what allows you to face bigger challenges without hesitation. On the other hand, every time you break your own rules, you train your mind to believe you can't trust yourself. That belief will eat away at your self-respect until you start avoiding challenges altogether. Training mental discipline daily also means controlling your focus. In a world that bombards you with distractions, notifications, news, gossip, endless entertainment, the ability to concentrate on one task for an extended period is becoming rare, and rare skills are powerful. If you can focus deeply for hours while others can barely focus for minutes, you gain an almost unfair advantage in every area of life. To build this, you must practice eliminating distractions, turn off notifications, work in silence, set timers for focused work, and push yourself to stay with a task until it's complete. At first, your mind will resist, screaming for stimulation. This is normal. Your brain is addicted to easy dopamine hits from constant distraction. But the more you force yourself to focus, the stronger your attention muscle becomes. Mental discipline also thrives on adversity. You cannot train it fully in comfort. You need moments where you are tired, stressed, under pressure, and still choose to perform. This is why some people deliberately challenge themselves with difficult tasks. Cold showers, long runs, fasting, intense workouts, or taking on projects outside their comfort zone. These aren't just physical challenges, they're mental battles. Every time you push through something difficult, you are telling your brain, we do not quit when it's hard. We finish. Another key part of daily mental discipline is emotional regulation. Discipline is not only about doing what you should, it's also about not doing what you shouldn't. It's resisting the urge to lash out when provoked, to complain when things get tough, to give in to anger, fear, or self-pity. This is why discipline is so closely tied to emotional control. Because the more disciplined you are, the less you allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent actions. You must also feed your mind with the right inputs. If you consume garbage information all day, your thinking becomes garbage. Training discipline means being intentional about what you allow into your mind. Books that sharpen your thinking, conversations that challenge you, environments that demand your best. Your mental state is heavily influenced by what you expose yourself to. Protect it like a fortress. And remember this, mental discipline is not something you build for the sake of having it. It's the foundation that supports every other skill you develop. Without discipline, motivation fades, focus shatters, and plans fall apart. With discipline, you can keep moving forward even when motivation is gone. Even when the plan changes, even when you feel like quitting. This is why it must be trained daily. You cannot expect to rise to the occasion in a crisis if you've spent every other day of your life giving in to the easy way out. When the pressure comes, you will sink to the level of your training. If your training is weak, your performance will be weak. But if you've built mental discipline day after day, you will be unshakable when the storm hits. The truth is, training mental discipline daily is not glamorous. There's no applause for waking up early, for working quietly on your craft, or saying no to temptation. It's lonely, it's repetitive, it's hard, but it is in that grind, unseen and uncelebrated, that the strongest minds are built. The world sees the victory, but it never sees the thousands of small battles won in private. You must be willing to fight those battles every single day. In the end, mental discipline gives you freedom. Most people think discipline is restriction, but the opposite is true. When you control your mind, you control your actions. When you control your actions, you control your results. And when you control your results, you control your life. That is real freedom. The ability to create the life you want, not be dragged through life by laziness, distraction, and impulse. Train your mental discipline daily, because the day you stop training it is the day you start losing it. Victory belongs to the most composed, because in every battle, whether it's in business, relationships, sports, or survival, the one who keeps their head while everyone else loses theirs will always hold the decisive edge. Composure is not just about staying calm for the sake of appearance. It's about controlling the pace, controlling the decisions, and ultimately controlling the outcome. The composed person sees the battlefield clearly while others are blinded by rage, fear, greed, or panic. And in that clarity lies the power to strike at the perfect moment in the perfect way with devastating precision. When chaos hits, most people rush. They feel the urgency, the adrenaline, the overwhelming need to do something, anything, just to feel like they're in control. But rushing is not control. Rushing is giving the situation the power to dictate your actions. The composed person does the opposite. They slow down, they breathe, they gather information. They measure the risks and wait for the opportunity that others are too frantic to see. In war, it's not the soldier who fires the most bullets who wins. It's the soldier who waits for the one clean shot that ends the fight. The truth is, composure is strength disguised as stillness. It's the ability to remain unshaken when everything around you is shaking. That doesn't mean you feel no pressure. It means you've trained yourself to operate effectively under it. Pressure is the great divider. Some break under it. Some survive it. The composed thrive in it. They don't just endure chaos. They use it. They understand that when everyone else is panicking, the field is full of openings. Panic creates mistakes, and mistakes create opportunities for those who are steady enough to spot them. Think about history's greatest leaders and champions. The ones who changed the outcome of wars, who turned losing games into legendary victories, who built empires out of nothing. They all shared one trait: composure under fire. They didn't allow themselves to be dragged into the emotional whirlpool that consumes the unprepared. While others were burning energy on fear or frustration, they were conserving theirs for decisive action. Composure also sends a message to your opponents and to the world: I cannot be broken. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain steady, you strip them of their power. They realize you won't play their emotional game, and that frustrates them into making errors. The composed person doesn't need to prove they are in control. They show it in every calm, calculated move they make. And in high-stakes situations, that psychological advantage can be worth more than any physical or financial resource. But here's what most people miss. Composure isn't a natural gift. It's a skill you have to build through deliberate training. You don't become composed by avoiding stressful situations. You become composed by putting yourself in them and practicing control. Every argument you refuse to escalate, every setback you refuse to dramatize, every high-pressure moment you face without breaking, these are your training grounds. Composure is built in the small daily moments, so when the big moment comes, it's already second nature. One of the keys to building composure is separating emotion from action. It's not about being emotionless. It's about refusing to let emotion dictate your decisions. You can feel anger, fear, or disappointment, but you don't act on them immediately. You create space between feeling and doing. In that space is your advantage. That's where you analyze, strategize, and decide your next move based on reason, not reaction. Composure is also about trust in yourself and trust in your preparation. People who panic in big moments often do so because deep down they don't believe they're ready. They haven't put in the work, so they try to make up for it with frantic action. The composed person knows they've trained for this. They know they have the tools, the knowledge, and the resilience to handle whatever comes. That self-belief allows them to remain steady when others crumble. In competition, composure is a weapon because it allows you to think several steps ahead while your opponent is stuck in the present. They're reacting to what just happened. You're planning for what's about to happen. This foresight is only possible when you're calm enough to see beyond the moment. It's like playing chess against someone who's only thinking about their next move while you're already planning your fifth. Composure also protects you from making irreversible mistakes. In moments of high emotion, the risk of doing something you can't undo skyrockets. Words you can't take back, bridges you can't rebuild, moves you can't reverse. Staying composed gives you the time and clarity to avoid those traps. It's not just about winning. It's about making sure you don't lose unnecessarily. Another hidden power of composure is how it influences others. People naturally follow those who are steady under pressure. In a crisis, they look to the one who isn't panicking for guidance. That's why composed leaders inspire confidence in their teams, composed negotiators gain the upper hand in deals, and composed athletes rally their teammates to victory. Your composure doesn't just benefit you, it elevates everyone around you. Of course, being composed doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing while the world burns. It means acting with precision instead of desperation. It means striking at the right time in the right way with the right force. And when you do act, your move carries more weight because it wasn't born out of impulse. It was born out of mastery. The most dangerous opponent you can face is not the loudest or the most aggressive. It's the one who remains calm no matter what you throw at them. They are impossible to read, impossible to rattle, and impossible to rush. That's the level you should aim for, because when you reach it, you stop just surviving challenges and start dominating them. In the end, Victory belongs to the most composed. Because composure gives you every possible advantage, clarity of thought,